In the West, they call it the glass ceiling, an invisible barrier that keeps women from the top. In Asia, well, call it the silk ceiling. We've been following one young Indian journalist who's broken through the silk ceiling and who's making a film about how to tear it down. Anand's a man. And so is Shrish. Once a year, they make a discovery, what it's like to be a woman. Here in Bihar state, like the rest of India, it's Navratri, 9 days of celebration and fun. But one person's here to work. National TV journalist Ritu Bhardawaj. She's got something more serious on her mind.
Women sometimes face a lot of problems. When you perform as a woman, do you face any?
A lot.
What kind?
When we perform as women and go on the stage, men starts to talk strangely and harass us because we are dressed as women. They start talking to us in a vulgar way. They think just because we are in women's form, they can treat us like women, even knowing we're men. Performing as women while being a man is tough, especially with the way the men behave with us. I can only imagine how bad the plight of women must be.
Celebrated in Navratri, the ideal feminine. Hindu India has many female goddesses, but across South Asia, real human women are widely disempowered, as Anand and Shrish know firsthand.
Do you think men and women are equal? And what would you tell the men?
When we are dancing, we think we are just like women. We think we are all one. But the men folk don't really understand. They are only interested in teasing us. What we would like is for the government to announce something to benefit women. That would be a great thing.
It's a bit of a surprise. Ancient festival to feminist manifesto. But here in one of India's poorest states, something is already happening. Ritu is making a film about gender inequality, the silk ceiling that hangs above so many women in India and its Asian neighbours.
Though women are sharing their workplace with their male counterparts, they are enjoying the financial freedom in like Delhi and Bombay, Bangalore, but still their rights, their basic human rights are under siege in the country. Like, is girls a commodity? What's the basic thinking of the males in the society? So I just want to ask, what's our society and is doing and our government is doing in this direction?
Ritu's come to Rughai, a village where men and women seem locked in old ways. Few women in South Asia own any assets. A new UN report claims it's one of the main reasons they're disempowered. But in Bihar, some villagers have transferred land and property to women. in return for government help and cash. It's part of a unique Indian experiment in local government called Panchayati Raj. The local NGO Ritu's keen to interview has helped put it into practice.
Do you feel that if women are given ownership of assets, including land, this will help make them empowered? And do you think this will bring any changes in society?
In Bihar, the men migrate to work in different states. And because of this, the women are the ones that actually do the farming. So we started a project where if the land and property holdings were transferred to a woman's name, then we would give family access to various government schemes. A lot of men agreed to do this, even if some did not. The important thing is that the women felt confident they had ownership of the land they were tilling. It has been a great experiment.
To see how great an experiment, meet Kiran Devi, named by her dad after India's top woman cop. At first glance, an ordinary housewife, serving tea for friends. But the Panchayati Raj experiment isn't just about land rights. It's about a whole system of devolving government down to villages, and at least a third of the posts are reserved for women. Now Kiran's life has been transformed. She's been elected Sarpanch, or village head. What's more, supposedly backward Bihar has also established Gram Kacheri, or village courts. And this one's run by Kiran. The case Ritu's filming, a woman's 3 sons are insisting she leaves land to them, not to her daughter. The decision, Kiran's.
We can only find out the reality on the ground once we investigate in your village.
Of the land that our family owned, we were only given a third. And her father has given her some land as well.
Listen, if her father has given her the land, it's her property. Now continue.
Yes, it was given by him to her. Then we divided it. But we got no more of the land or properties.
These boys don't care. This one smashed his youngest brother's head a day before the Rakhi festival and ran off to Punjab to earn money. But then I asked him to help build a family house together, and he refused, saying he doesn't have any money.
In more than half the cases, women are able to file their own cases. The women are ahead on this.
Do the men Panchayati members support you?
Yes, the men do help us.
Over 200 cases successfully resolved. Kiran's helping the whole village, but it's often women who need justice most. Enforcing their rights in big city courts can take up to 10 years. And even here, women had to fight, sometimes literally.
After we women came to power, domestic violence increased a lot. The men didn't want the women to be on equal status with them. They didn't want them to stand in front of them, sit on a chair next to them, or talk to them. So this essentially sparked off a lot of domestic violence. But slowly things started to improve. People started helping each other, especially seeing the women members across all panchayats doing their work.
Rights enforced by law and persuasion.
Do you think women are on an equal footing with men in your village today? Are men giving women their due rights?
The women are now getting their rights. Where they're not being given their rights, we all go together and explain to them why they should be given their rights.
Kiran Devi holds her court under a ficus tree, a reminder of where the Buddha is said to have gained enlightenment.
When we do our duties and our work, we don't see any problems. We face whatever the difficulties are. When we do our work and give our ruling, people respect our decisions and agree to what we are saying. Because of this, all problems seem easy to conquer.
While Kiran's paid a small fee, many Panchayat members are not paid. That can discriminate against poorer women, but having a woman role model means young girls compete with the boys at school. In the future, they'll be laughing. Maybe all the way to the bank. Back in Delhi, Ritu's trying to beat the deadline for her film on gender inequality. She's been watching more stories from her colleagues in Indonesia.
Yeah, thank you very much for the film you sent to me.
Indonesia's constitution guarantees equality between the sexes. But Islamic law, custom, even civil law, that can be different. Indonesian novelist Ayu Utami says she's making a personal stand against marriage laws. Laws which can license Muslim men having more than one wife.
I think polygamy is the epitome of gender inequality. Women from the poor background and vulnerable background cannot choose. They don't have the access to self-protection. But middle-class women usually have the same access to education and jobs to the men. They have options. They can choose. And for example, I choose not to get married. And I declare outwardly that I will never get married unless the marriage law is revised according to gender equality.
In Desa Kaliwaya, Crocodile River village, some vulnerable women are making a stand. What they're against, not so much overt discrimination, but the language of the law, which confirms gender stereotypes, like women as housewives. This was a role Aisha happily accepted, until things changed.
Saya bekerja pada tahun 1991
I was working in a clothing factory since 1991 for 10 years. Then I got married when I was 26. I stopped working immediately. My reason for leaving the factory was because my husband asked me not to work. Because people say the husband is the head of the family, so everything is to be provided by the husband. So the wife only takes care of the kitchen, the well, and the mattress. But then my husband left me because he wasn't working. He was made redundant.
Left alone, Aisha also found herself left in legal limbo. She's come to an organisation called PECA for advice. What to do now she's a housewife in a household with no head.
I want to ask you about my problem. My husband left me, so I want a solution from you. Your opinion on what I do now.
She's told about the law and the paperwork.
Do you have the wedding certificate? You need to bring in the wedding certificate. And your husband's current address. Also your ID card, your village household card, and a note from the village. But if you don't have them, it's okay for now.
PECA, the woman-headed household programme, are no militant feminists. They know Indonesia has ratified conventions against discrimination, and even the marriage law insists on joint parenting responsibility. So their language is quiet but insistent.
Actually, there is discrimination insofar as I understand the marriage laws. There it is mentioned that the man is the head of the household, even though there are many women who are head of the household. Because in the law, women are only mentioned as housewives.
As elsewhere in the world, discriminatory laws are underwritten by social prejudice, including against separated women.
It wasn't a problem for my neighbors. Perhaps that's because my parents are well respected around here. But other people who didn't know us so well ridiculed me. They would say, there's the divorcee, where's the divorcee going? There's always something like that.
Most days, Aisha now puts on her work clothes, earning her way, gathering rice. And she and her new friends have also acquired less traditional female skills. They've trained as filmmakers. Their videos capture the stories of other traumatized women bewildered by the law.
The benefit of the community video training is that I can show people cases from the community, so their eyes are open to the law, so they are aware of the law.
This story, a woman who's been married more than once and divorced more than once. Lost in a tangle of civil codes, Islamic law and custom, she has no papers at all for herself or for her children.
My child says, Mama, other children have a birth certificate. I can only cry. My child cries too because he wants to be like other children. Their fathers are irresponsible, especially for Gunawan. His father isn't around. He's dead. To whom can I complain? To whom can I report this? Current father? The stepfather? Never mind his stepchildren. He doesn't even take care of his own children's birth certificates.
There are moves to help harassed women in Indonesia. There's a government campaign to persuade men to share in household tasks. But the stories Pegger's filmed show what can happen when the law sides with the husband. For novelist Ayu, stories like these show justice is rigged by men.
Here again, we see that the law confirms the traditional values that the husband is the head of the family. The law denies the woman's contribution to economic life. Whatever some women supply to the family economy, she is, according to the law, subordinate to her husband in decision-making.
With a new government in Jakarta, you might think it's the right time to campaign against the marriage law. As an MP, Nur Shabani Kacha argued for women's rights from inside the system. Now she's back working as a legal aid lawyer. In principle, she's on Ayu's side.
Ayu Utami for me is a symbol of freedom, for women. Yeah, she can do anything she like. Yeah, everything.
But against a background of rising Islamic fundamentalism, even this human rights stalwart has her doubts it's the right moment for women to act.
I don't think that now is the right things to do reform of our marriage law, because the political situation, both in Parliament and in the society in general, is not conducive to do that. Yeah, and even we discuss about the abolishment of the article of polygamy, we were accused as anti-religion, anti-Islam. Yeah, it's a danger when the government do not manage to control the hardliner and also the Islamic militia, yeah, who can destroy and attack us as the human rights activists.
Back in Delhi, Ritu's checking out some more Indian footage for her report. It's all making her a little uncomfortable.
A daughter has to get married and leave home. 75% of women are not capable of managing a business. In a family where there are no sons, daughters are not valued because a daughter will get married and leave home.
But there are also stories of women valued. 10-year-old Kavita is already learning her dad's trade. It'll mean spare cash to help her train as a doctor. Sumaleta collects coconut milk. Girls are supposed to fall off. Suha Kimnan doesn't need a ladder to climb her way up. She's already close to the top of her family tree.
When I got out of college, when I graduated, Dad had convinced me that I would give technically in a 6-month trial. and that was it. I just never left.
There was no difference that was made between my brother and me being brought up. For the first few years, I did have a problem, but I don't think that had much to do with me being a woman. It had more to do with me being 21, or I'd like to believe that. Anyone who's going to love me and marry me is going to know that a very big part of what I am is my work. I think I can do a better job than a lot of men I know in this industry.
The role model Ritu's off to film today, Shanu. Shanu's a widow who supports 3 kids and her in-laws. She's broken into the male preserve of radio taxis.
So how do you feel now?
It feels great. When a man is driving in front of me, he will point and say, "Wow, see, a woman is driving that car." It feels great. I'm able to do great things without being a man. I have already decided when my daughter turns 18, I will make her a driver as well.
Just 19 women, Ritu learns, are learning to break through this silk ceiling. But it's early days. And it's not just driving they learn, but self-defense and language skills, empowerment through employment.
I actually believe that the girls who come to us have been through such adversity. They have been through struggled through so many difficult circumstances completely on their own. They have given this, literally they've been through fire already in their lives. So they are much stronger than what we think them to be. And actually I believe that it is that strength that helps us to move on and to break the gender stereotypes and to break the boundaries within which women work.
Back in the office, Ritu's widening her report out. Time for the big picture. She's had stories from India and from Indonesia, some encouraging, others reminding her that India's neighbours can be further behind than many imagine.
If you look at the empowerment of women in terms of political rights, we always think that the Middle East must be way behind Asia, because we see some very important and prominent political leaders in Asia. We have seen presidents and prime ministers being women. But actually, if you look at the real political empowerment, Asia is doing no better than the Middle East. It's almost the same. So we always think of Asia being ahead on political rights, but actually it's not the case.
In India, the Panchayati Raj system has empowered hundreds of thousands of women. But Ritu reckons more needs to be done. She's off to see a woman who has broken through the silk ceiling and is helping to plan India's future.
See, the most important thing is that representation of women. Traditionally, we have had the Panchayati Raj, which has made over 1 million women become immediately enter the panchayats. So politically, that has actually happened. But the next step is that get women into the state assemblies and the parliament. So you have women in the most important decision making.
Women in India have lesser property rights. So what government is doing to ensure, to increase the property rights of women in India?
The state is very conscious of the fact that real power will not devolve to women unless the woman becomes an owner of a property. And this is being, in every government scheme, if the woman has if the patta or the title is in the name of the women, there are certain concessions.
Novelist Ayu says it's about more than helping women to prosper in the material world.
The question is not what women should get. The real question is what the whole society should get. It should get a gender equality education that will lead us to a gender equal society where men and women work hand in hand in private and in public, in good times and in bad times. And to reach there, I should, and everybody who dreams for a gender equality society should jump in and try to win the contestation of values that has been there in Indonesia for hundreds of years.
And for a final word for her report, who better than Ritu herself, a small-town girl from a modest background, who is breaking through the silk ceiling.
When men and women are considered equal, then the economy runs efficiently and every individual can work for the development of the country. It is therefore important that India should work to improve the condition of women. The difference between men and women needs to be removed. The work that is being done in this area needs to be speeded up, and there is a greater need for intervention at a policy level. This is Ritu Bhardawaj reporting on India's silk ceiling.